The first thing Sergeant Daniel Cross noticed about the alien was her eyes. They glowed, not with the soft shimmer of starlight, but with something ancient, predatory, and alive. Crimson irises like molten glass, framed by silver-white hair that fell like liquid metal. She stood perfectly still amid the chaos of the burned-out battlefield, her black armor untouched by the soot and blood that painted every inch of Earth's once green plains. Cross didn't know who she was. He only knew one thing: she wasn't here to kill him. He lowered his rifle, breathing hard. "You with the Dominion or the Alliance?" he rasped. The woman tilted her head slightly, studying him with those uncanny eyes. "Neither," she said finally, her voice calm but carrying the weight of authority. "The Dominion is dead. The Alliance too. They destroyed each other. I came to end the noise." Her words barely made sense to him. Cross had been fighting for 12 days straight. 12 days of trench skirmishes, orbital bombardments, and nights filled with the screams of dying soldiers. Earth had become the last battlefield of a galactic war humans hadn't even started. Still, her tone wasn't hostile. And she looked exhausted too, like someone who had seen far too many wars. So, with a shrug and a faint smirk, Cross extended his fist. "Then welcome to the neighborhood, lady." For a heartbeat, she only stared at the gesture. Then, to his utter surprise, she lifted her own gloved hand and bumped his knuckles. A soft click of armor meeting armor. The galaxy's most feared vampire matriarch, newly crowned Empress of the Valari Dominion, had just been fist-bumped by a dirt-covered human soldier from Earth's 3rd Expeditionary Corps. The Empress and the soldier. She didn't tell him her name. Not yet. To him, she was just Lyra. He'd named her that when she refused to give an introduction. She had laughed softly at the human's audacity. No one in her empire had spoken to her that casually in centuries. They walked through the ruins together, scavenging water from fallen Dominion dropships, patching up wounded soldiers, both human and alien. The Dominion troops who had survived the war looked at Lyra with terror, bowing low and muttering prayers. Cross noticed, of course. "You're kind of famous, huh?" Lyra's expression didn't change. Something like that. In truth, she had been Empress for exactly 40 hours. Her predecessor, Emperor Kaeldar, had been consumed in his own plasma throne when his fleet betrayed him. The surviving nobles had proclaimed her ruler, out of fear, not loyalty. And her first decree had been to end the centuries-long war that had bled the stars dry. Her second decree was simple: visit Earth, the newest front in the endless bloodshed, and see the humans for herself. She had not expected him. A lone soldier standing among the ruins, offering kindness instead of submission. A human who didn't bow, didn't tremble, didn't care who she was. It fascinated her. Campfire on a dead planet. By the third night, they had built a fire from Dominion fuel cells and pieces of shattered drones. The sky above was a bruised tapestry of auroras, remnants of the atmospheric shields collapsing. Cross sat on a crate, cleaning his weapon. Lyra sat opposite him, sipping from a metallic flask filled with some crimson liquid. "Blood?" Cross asked casually. Her eyes flicked up, amused. "Does it disturb you?" He shrugged. "After what I've seen, not really. You drink blood. We burn fossil fuels and poison our own oceans. Nobody's perfect." That made her laugh. A quiet, genuine sound that echoed across the ruins. She studied him for a long moment, her gaze softer now. "Humans, you surprise me. Your world burns yet you still joke. You lose battles yet you keep fighting. You have no empire, no genetic enhancements, no long-lost gods. Yet you refuse to kneel. Why?" Cross looked into the flames. his face illuminated in orange light. Because we don't know how to stop. Because if we stop fighting, we stop being human. Silence stretched between them. Then Lyra spoke, her voice low. Your people have something the galaxy lost long ago. You fight not for conquest, but for each other. He looked up. You talk like you've been fighting forever. I have, she admitted. For 12 centuries. That made him pause. He whistled softly. 1200 years, damn. You must have seen everything. Her expression darkened slightly. Enough to know that victory means nothing when all that's left is ash. Cross leaned forward. Then maybe you need to fight for something else. That was the first time anyone had told the Empress of the Dominion to rethink her purpose. And the first time she didn't immediately destroy them for it. 3. The attack. Dawn came pale and cold. The ground trembled under distant artillery. A surviving fleet of Dominion loyalists, those who refused to accept Lyra's peace, descended from orbit, raining plasma onto the ruined plains. Their banners bore the sigil of House Varkesh, an ancient family that sought to restore the old empire through blood. Cross and Lyra ran for cover as streaks of fire tore across the sky. Your people! Cross shouted over the roar. Traitors, she hissed. They think I'm dead. We must reach the comm relay. I can stop this. They sprinted across a crater field, dodging explosions and falling debris. Cross moved like a veteran, steady, precise, unyielding. He grabbed a wounded human marine by the arm, dragging him to safety without hesitation. Lyra watched him in awe between blasts. The way he threw himself into danger for others, it was utterly alien to her people. When they reached the shattered relay tower, the sky erupted again. A Dominion gunship swooped low, cannons glowing. Cross shoved Lyra behind a wreck and opened fire. His rifle spat kinetic rounds uselessly against the ship's shields. Useless, she shouted. Tell that to them, he yelled back, swapping mags. I don't have wings, lady. She stepped forward, eyes flaring crimson. The air around her shimmered. Then, with a gesture, she ripped the gunship from the sky, metal screaming as it crumpled like paper. It exploded behind them in a blinding flash. Cross blinked. Remind me not to piss you off. For the first time she smiled, a sharp, dangerous grin. Wise advice. For, the truth revealed. Inside the relay station, the walls hummed faintly with dying power. Lyra moved quickly, connecting her wristband to the terminal. Blue glyphs shimmered as Dominion code flooded the screens. Cross leaned against a wall, watching. You sure you know what you're doing? She didn't answer right away. Then, almost reluctantly, she said, Sergeant Cross, I haven't been entirely honest with you. He smirked tiredly. Yeah, I kinda figured that when people started calling you Your Majesty. She froze. You knew. Lady, I've seen enough movies to recognize royal drama when I see it. The bowing soldiers, the fancy armor, the way you boss everyone around. You scream Space Queen. Lyra stared at him, then laughed. Actually laughed. You are impossible. And you're welcome, he replied. She shook her head, smiling despite herself. I am Lyra Kael'vas, Empress of the Dominion. The last of the Valari line. My word commands half the galaxy. Cross looked at her, completely unfazed. Cool. I'm from Kansas. That broke her composure entirely. She laughed until her shoulders shook, wiping tears from her eyes, tears that glowed faintly in the dim light. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever treated her like she was human. Maybe that's why, when the Loyalist fleet broadcast their demands, calling for her surrender or death, she didn't retreat. Instead, she turned to Cross and said, "Will you stand with me, human?" He loaded his rifle, grinned, and said, "Hell yeah." The last stand at Meridian Field. The relay tower became their fortress. A handful of surviving humans and defected Dominion troops held the perimeter while orbital bombardments scorched the sky. Cross barked orders, coordinating with impossible calm. He patched holes in defenses, boosted morale, even cracked jokes as plasma fire tore the ground apart. Lyra fought beside him, not as an empress but as a warrior. Her movements were poetry, shadows and light, fangs and fire. Every Dominion soldier who saw her realized the truth. Their empress had chosen humanity over tyranny. That was all it took. The loyalist army hesitated, then splintered. By nightfall, the traitor fleet was retreating into orbit, their ships in disarray. The field was littered with smoldering wrecks and the scent of ozone. Cross sat on a broken beam, bloodied but grinning. "Guess that's that." Lyra stood beside him, cloak torn, armor cracked, but her expression was peaceful for the first time in centuries. She looked down at him. "You fought like a madman." He chuckled. "We call it being human." She nodded slowly. "Then the galaxy needs more humans." 6. Aftermath. Days later, the Dominion flagship Veolaris Prime hovered above Earth's atmosphere. Inside its throne chamber, Lyra stood in regal silence, her black armor polished, her crown restored. Before her, holograms of galactic leaders waited, thousands of them, representing species from across the stars. She addressed them not with threats, but with a new decree. From this day forward, humanity shall stand as equals among the stars. The war is over. The age of blood is done. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Cross, standing quietly beside her in his battered uniform, just muttered, "You sure they're gonna take that well?" She smiled faintly. "They'll learn. If not, they'll face the same stubbornness that saved me. Flattery'll get you everywhere, Empress." She tilted her head, amused. "Then perhaps I should reward you." He raised an eyebrow. "With what?" She extended her hand, the same hand that had crushed fleets, slain tyrants, and reshaped the Dominion, and gently bumped his fist. Blick. The same sound that had started it all. 7. Epilogue. The legend of the fist bump. Centuries later, among the outer colonies, there was a saying. When the Empress met the Earth soldier, she learned what power truly meant. They told stories of how a human's humor changed an empire. How a single act of casual friendship, a fist bump, became the symbol of unity between species that had once slaughtered each other. The Valari Dominion became the Galactic Concord. Humans became ambassadors, explorers, and peacekeepers. And deep within the archives of the Concord, an old holo recording remained. A single moment preserved in shimmering blue light. A dirt-covered soldier grinning at an alien empress, and the two of them knocking fists amid the ruins of a dying world. Because sometimes, peace doesn't begin with treaties or crowns. Sometimes it begins with a fist bump.